I'm Bill Oughton of Oughton Claims Management.
I'm Chantel Roberts of CMR Consulting, and welcome to the Art of Adjusting podcast.
Today, we're going to talk about life as an insurance adjuster from the perspective of property, auto, liability, or workers' compensation adjusters. Our goal is to bring interesting topics in the world of claims adjusting to people who are working as an adjuster now and to people who are considering a career as a claims adjuster. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I am having a day. How are
I
you?
I'm having another day too.
Oh,
It's
this is fantastic. I love it when we're having days together.
yeah. As long as the feet hit the floor, things are good.
Man, I tell you what, yeah, it was very good. My husband let me sleep in today and I woke up about an hour ago and I'm like, crap, I gotta go. I got a podcast to do.
Rush,
Woo!
rush, rush. We're on a tight
Yes.
schedule here, Chantel.
I know, right? I know. It's terrible. A sleeping princess such that I am, eating bonbons all day long, just waiting to do a podcast, which is what we're doing today. And we're going to be talking about a topic that may not interest some adjusters, like the on the property side of things, but I think that you should still stick around, listen to it. We'll try to make it interesting. We are talking about the government, so there's only so much we can do to keep it interesting.
Yeah.
But we're going to be talking about CMS. That's the Center of Medical Medicaid, Medicare Services, Center of Medicare Services, I think.
CMS,
Yes.
Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services.
Yes. So we're talking about Medicare, Medicaid, liens, subrogations in liability, and essentially what these adjusters, usually liability adjusters, need to know, but I want the property damage adjusters to sit up and pay attention in case y'all ever like switch lines, which I always encourage you to do so you can become a multi-lined adjuster and become even more indispensable as you are. So,
It's important for adjusters to know this, but I think it's equally as important for injured people to understand this too.
mhm,
So,
I
but
absolutely agree with that.
one
And
thing you're going to kick things off with is this big five. I need to know what the big five is.
yes, I am. But and while we're talking about it, the injured person to know about it, agents need to know about it,
Yes.
because they might get called by their insureds going like, why does this adjuster want to know all of my business? And attorneys need to know this because when I was a liability adjuster, I got a lot of pushback from attorneys, and there's some good reasons why we are asking these questions. Okay, so remember to like, comment, subscribe, share with all of your friends, especially because this is like really important. So we're going to start off with some spoiler alerts, what the big five is. Okay, so the big five is something that an adjuster needs to know about the claimant essentially right off the bat. And it's one of the first questions that we as liability adjusters are going to be asking the claimant. It is your name, your full name. And I always called it your name, rank, serial number kind of deal. Your full name, your date of birth, your see, now you're catching me like all off guard because I'm like going
I
like,
know,
what?
now I know what it is. So
Okay, yeah,
I
that's
can
that's your big
recite them.
five. Your
So
name, your date of
name,
birth.
address, phone number, date of birth, social security number.
Yes. And the reason is these are your big fives. Okay, your name, date of birth, gender, social security number, or partial um Medicare identification number if you have that. Yeah, and then address, whatever. These are your big five. These are the things that identify you. And the reason I say that agents need to know this, attorneys need to know this, claimants, like you said, the injured person needs to know this, is because the adjuster is going to be asking you this. And some random person is going to be calling you saying, hey, can you give me your date of birth, your driver's license number, your social security number, your
Right,
Medicare number, if you have it,
right.
any of that kind of stuff. And we all go to our uncle who lives in Nigeria who is going to leave us all of his money. All we got to do is give him the same information along with our bank account number, right?
Right.
And that's the first thing we think of. And so you're going to understand that this random person is just giving you a call after you've had this accident. They say that they're with the insurance company. You don't know. So as an adjuster, of course, what I always said is like, look, this is what I need. I'm going to need, it's called the Big Five. This is why I need it. I need it because I have to run you through the Medicare services, the CMS services. And the reason why I have to do this is we'll get into it just a minute. But if you're not comfortable giving all of that information to me, know that I'm going to send you a letter that explains all of this. And still, some people are not comfortable giving their social security numbers out with everything that's going on nowadays, especially nowadays. I mean, they can clone your voice, right?
Right.
And so you can even give a partial social, but it's not the last four, it's the last five.
Five. Yeah.
I don't know why the government likes five, but they
I
do.
don't
They
either.
they
Yeah.
like five. It's a thing with the government that, we would probably get 555 pages if we asked them why. I don't know. I'm just saying.
It's funny because we have we request medical records with standard authorizations. And on those authorizations, a lot of attorneys will leave the social security number off.
Hmm.
And a lot of the healthcare providers will not respond if it's not on there.
Right.
So some attorneys have opted for the last four,
Hmm.
and that narrows the pool down. But there's still some sticklers out there, these hospitals, whatever, clinics, that they just won't release it unless it's the full social. And we go back to the attorney and well, that's not true. And okay,
Oh, well,
that's here's the letter they sent me.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Um,
So it is, there's a couple reasons why we have to get that information is my point.
Absolutely. I mean, we start off, let's take a step back and start off with why we need it, since we've already teased. This is the spoiler, this is the answer.
Right.
Right there, the first 5 minutes. Woo! So now don't turn us off. We're gonna keep on going, telling you why, because that's the important part, because this is the important part that you need to know to be able to explain to the attorney and to the claimant and even to the agent, because again, a lot of times as adjusters, we're not the ones being trusted. We're not the ones in town. The insured may go over to the agent's office if there is still an office there. Okay, so what happens is you get into a car accident or you trip and fall and you have some kind of accident, right? Or you slip and fall or whatever. And the adjuster, the insurance company, has to prove that you as a claimant are not a Medicare or Medicaid recipient. And you're like, I'm 35. And I'm like, yeah. And this is where the attorneys come in. Um, so attorneys that are listening, you'll go, my client's 35. And I'm like, yeah, don't care.
Doesn't
Do
matter.
not, do not care. And you can be a little bit more polite adjusters than I ever was with my attorneys. But I would just go, don't care, do not care. You can be 3 years old, and I want to know what your Social Security number is, because the fine, and this is where we get some teeth, because uh, there is a lien. The government automatically has a lien on the payments that you make to a claimant or whatever, if they have made payments. And this was the subrogation part of it, right? And it's called like that super lien. And back in the day, when I first started, and Bill, probably when you first started, I mean, we knew about it. but like nobody wanted to bother the
It
government
was
about
it
it.
was not formalized like it is
Yeah,
today.
exactly.
There was a process, but I think we usually left the attorneys to go find it.
That's
Um,
it. See,
so
that is exactly it. And the attorneys, God bless their hearts,
bless her.
didn't
Bless.
really do anything about it. They didn't repay the government. And the government said, yeah, no, that's not going to work for us anymore. So
Yeah.
we're going to need you to repay us. Okay. And so they formalized all of this. And so what they did was they said, yeah, if you don't repay us, it is going to be $1,000 a day
Per
fine
claim. Per
per
claim.
claim a day.
Right.
And we don't care if we get it from the attorney or the insurance company or the third party administrator
Well,
or the
those fines are actually for the for the responsible
insurer.
reporting entity, the RRE.
Yes.
So they're
And
the
well,
ones that, as far as fines for attorneys representing clients, I don't know. I
I've
don't know
always
if
been
they
told it was
have.
for everybody, but there is an RR, like the government can go against anybody, is what I was always told. So you
Right.
may know more information than I, but what I was always told it was for anybody.
Yeah, I don't
And
know if an attorney qualifies as an RRE or not. That's something I'd have to look up.
yeah,
But we should probably back up a little bit here
yes,
because there's
let's throw out
if
some
there's
vocab words.
if there's any property people here that want to understand this better, your ears might be bleeding by now. So
Mm, mm, mm.
we'll back the truck up a little bit.
We get
Um,
ahead of ourselves, don't we? I'm so
we
sorry.
do, we did.
Ye-
We started it at the end, and now we're in the middle. So but the concept to understand is this is basically no different than a subrogation situation. And Medicare, Medicaid, workers' compensation, and in some states, health insurance companies have a right to subrogate for damages that they pay when someone else is responsible for the accident that caused the injuries. So, very simple concept there. The difference is with these entities, it's a government responsibility, and the government says, well, there's too many claims, so it's not our job to go find the subrogation opportunities. We're going to put a law in place that requires all these liability insurers that if you see something, you've got to tell us,
Right,
which is a little bit of a different scenario because if you've got an auto accident claim and you insure car A, who's at fault in the accident, the insurer for car B is going to be looking to recover anything they paid, and they're going to go find you.
right.
With Medicare, it's different. They want you to let them know that you owe them money. So that's a little bit of a different of a role reversal there.
I did look this up because I know that the government loves their acronyms,
Yeah.
and so I uh, was looking it up, and this is one of the fun things that Bill and I were talking about. Is I said, hey, I did this whole outline because as everybody knows, we go off of outlines, and he's like, yeah, I did too, and I'm like, oh, well, that means that I didn't forward you my outline, so hey. Um, but I always got confused with all of these acronyms that the government starts throwing around, right? Because the government, like they like the number five, also love their acronyms. And so CMS, the Centers of Medicare Medicaid Services, is the federal agency that runs Medicare. Now, they use Section 111 reporting to identify claims involving Medicare beneficiaries and to protect Medicare's interest when another insurer may be responsible. And that's what Bill was just talking about. So this section 111 is the federal Medicare secondary payer, which is the MSP reporting requirements. So it like branches off into that. And that's when we figure out what the rules are. And so the nuance that we're getting at here is this person meaning the injured person, the actual Medicare beneficiary, and do I have enough information to verify whether they are a Medicare beneficiary? Um, and so that's where we were getting off into the big five. Now, Bill, you want to tell us what a RRE is, which is another
The-
acronym. There's going to be a test later, guys, by the way.
it is a responsible reporting entity, and that means that under the MSP or the CMS, well, Section 111 laws, that you are or your entity has to report these payments to CMS so they can send you a letter and let you know about all the payments that they've made.
I
And
would
what's
say,
interesting,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
I'm sorry.
Well, what's interesting is that they call them conditional payments. So as they're paying for an injured person's medical care, and that if that injured person was hurt because of someone else's negligence, those payments are considered conditional, meaning that Medicare is paying it now because we want them to get their treatment, but we expect it back is the kind of the idea. Um, so it's conditional on what the existence of other insurance, of other benefits that may be available. Um, Even if there's like other health insurance, although I don't think that happens very often. If you're
Mhm.
on Medicare and you happen to have, find coverage somewhere else that some policy buried in the back drawer that you never knew about, I guess. But most often it's liability.
Yeah. So let's back up again real quick. And one of the things that I wanted to mention, because I didn't want all of the adjusters to go, holy cow, I'm not doing any of this. You probably are. You just don't realize it. And then the other thing is that I don't want you as an adjuster to think that you personally are the RRE because and you're thinking, oh my God, I'm not contacting Medicare or the CMS or this Section 11 or whatever. No, no. When I was working at Liberty Mutual, MetLife, and then even as my third party administrator, what I would do is I would input this information into the system, into our claim system. Uh, and then nightly, it would go over to the chosen RRE. And there's a couple of different ones throughout the insurance industry. I don't know if we want to mention names or whatever, but it's usually not the insurer. They usually like sub that out to someone. And that other company is the RRE. And
So,
so,
so that's partially true. But what at the outset, the
yes,
RRE, original RRE at the base of it is the insurance carrier.
this is
So
true. This is true.
they contractually then um, give that responsibility to some other vendor who has the tech available to be able to populate CMS with this data. So
Right.
it becomes this big tech nightmare. When it first started, this was like 2009, I think,
Yeah.
2009 or 10. At the company I was at, we didn't have that tech. It was a
Right.
very small company. So
Yes.
we would log in, we would set up an account with CMS and we would log in and literally report each claim that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
after a few years, they stopped that portal was no they eliminated it. They're like, well, not enough companies are even using it, so most of them are doing this data dump.
Yes.
So I spent the next 5 years at my company trying to get the tech in place to do that.
Right.
So
And that's why I say a lot of these companies, it's all operating behind the scenes for the from the adjuster's point of view, from the agent's point of view, from the attorney's point of view, all of that kind of stuff. But there are these other entities that take your data as an insurer and report it off. Now, I'm assuming that a lot, and I guess that's true. I shouldn't assume this, that a lot of our adjusters listening might be desk adjusters or independents who gather this big five and then turn it over to the desk adjuster who then turns it over. And I shouldn't assume that. So, but also don't want the adjuster listening going, holy heck, I'm not contacting Medicare or the CMS or data dumping or anything like that. Yes, while it is the insurer that is supposed to be doing this, it your duty is really only to get this data. And then once it gets dumped, you will either get a yes or no from CMS saying, yes, this person is Medicare eligible and we're making payments, or no, this person is not eligible and we're not making payments. And that's when you can go, oh, thank God, they're not medical, they're not Medicare eligible. Woo! And FYI, guys, this system that we're talking about, we keep saying Medicare, which is the elderly one or the end of life one. But the states do usually have a Medicaid one, and I don't want to get too much into that one because it's like that's a whole nother podcast.
Well,
But it's
it's
something
worth
similar.
mentioning here because
Yes,
um, you kind of need the same
you
information.
do.
In New York, it's so first of all, the Medicaid is always ran by the state
Mhm,
versus Medicare, which is federal government. So with Medicaid here in New York, it's administered through each county.
mhm.
So if you have a claim in Monroe County, you would go to the health department in Monroe County. I
Wow.
happen to know there's a single attorney there whose only job is to inform you with these liens. I know her name, I know her phone number. She just says, call me when you have one. So
Wow.
we
That's
call
crazy.
her and then she sends the lien letter to us.
Mm,
Other counties are different. You have to do kind of like a
mm,
FOIA request.
mhm.
But you're basically asking for the information about any liens that would be on there. So that's for Medicaid. Workers' compensation is also eligible to subrogate for benefits that they've paid, but that's different. That's more like a traditional subrogation situation. We're not obligated to go find the workers' compensation carrier like we are with Medicare and Medicaid, but they do have a right to subrogate for medical bills and things that they've paid. Lost wages are a component of that too. Health insurance companies in New York cannot subrogate. So private health insurance like Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Humana, those types of companies can't um, subrogate. They can in some states across the country. I don't know which ones, but from what I understand, they are allowed to in some states. And they used to be able to here in New York. And that changed. I want to say that was around 2009 or 10 also, where they took that ability away from private health insurance companies and except in New York if it's an ERISA plan, which is basically a self-funded health insurance program through a large employer. Those actually can subrogate. Anyway, that's that. Those are the types of companies that can subrogate. Are you okay?
Yeah, no, I'm listening to you. I'm also I'm sure I'm making a face on YouTube and I'm not even paying attention because I'm trying to be very subtle and send Bill notes while he's talking
Oh,
because it
I
yeah,
didn't
and so
even
I'm
see
sure
them.
I'm making like this really stupid face going like uh, completely
Kind of.
forgetting that I'm on camera and that I'm being recorded because that is such as the day that I am having. Um, s- so he is absolutely right. you got to know kind of with the Medicare, or excuse me, Medicaid, what you're looking at. I think in Arkansas, it was just like one, like the Arkansas Department of Health. That's all you needed to look at. But there is, like I said, this, yeah, there's a whole thing. And per
Mhm.
county, that's really interesting. I had not heard that before. So it behooves you to know, or at least maybe have a trusted AI, or excuse me, IA, independent adjuster, who would know this about their state or what have you. If you work in a couple of different states, the very me trying to be all stealth like and everything, I was trying to send Bill the process, the recovery process for Medicare, the CMS
Huh?
issues, and there's like a whole bunch, and I'm only limited to like 3,000 characters each, and so I like keep having to delete stuff because I keep loading too much in. And yeah, so welcome to the joys of podcasting. These are the things that people never talk about, and I just
Well,
say, you know what? I don't edit these stuff out. I mean, I don't
how
mind
about
that
it?
you're driving in your car laughing at me. I don't care. Or,
Well,
you know, walking on the
this is
treadmill.
this is a really complicated topic
It is.
because we couldn't the whole process of reporting is a whole tech side of things that we just
Oh
as
yeah.
an adjuster you don't really get involved in. That's what the COO and the IT department, their job,
Yes.
and their compliance department, their job is to make sure that this is all done behind the scenes. And but there are some practical things for adjusters to know when it comes time to handle a claim like this and settle a claim
Yeah.
because
That
so
starts getting impacted.
when you've got an elderly person on Medicare and they're not represented and they have, say, $1,500 in out-of-pocket medical expenses, and they
Hmm.
want to be reimbursed for that.
Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of money. Even if it's not. Okay, so can I take a detour real quick?
Sure.
Because again, I always said even to attorneys, I'm like, I don't care. They could be 3 months old. I do not care. I want all of the information because I'm going to run them through Medicare. And um, a lot of people protest this, and you, as adjusters, need to understand that Medicare doesn't only take care of the elderly, they can take care of end of life people. You know, like if you had renal stage failure, if you like have cancer, you could be on there. They could take care of some of the survivors of the people who were on Medicare, or at least they could. Now that may have changed, but that's how, you know, you could sometimes get a 17-year-old who's perfectly healthy, but their parent wasn't or whatever. And so they were like a beneficiary in that sense. That could have totally changed. I don't know. However, that's why I'm saying doesn't matter. You got to run them through. And even if it's not just for Medicare we're looking at, remember we just talked about Medicaid, we should be looking at Medicaid too. So that I'll turn it
Yeah,
back over
always
to you,
report it to
Bill.
those government entities. That's not even negotiable.
Yeah, no, it's
Um,
not. It is absolutely not.
Now there is one exception.
Oh, there's always an exception.
That exception is if the settlement is less than $750 or less.
Huh. That I didn't even know. So, I mean, that's great.
Medicare, that's the small settlement provision. They don't want to be
Be mince.
bothered with those. So
We're getting
now,
ready to talk about how to settle a claim within when when Medicare, when CMS Section 11, when all of that comes back and says, yes, there's a Medicare eligible recipient, and we have made conditional payments, which was what Bill has been talking about.
yeah,
This is a huge pain in the rear, and I'm going to tell you, grandma, like Bill was talking about, when she's unrepresented, is not going to understand this process
Nope.
because it sounds suspicious to me. And
It does. It just sounds like a
I,
delay tactic, and
it
it's
does,
absolutely not.
it completely sounds like you are taking advantage of them. I do have a flow chart from the government that I'm going to put in the link in the show notes, and you can get it there. But it's really nice to have. I used to include that with my Medicare letter, my CMS letter that I would send to my claimant saying, this is the reason why I need it. And this is what's going to happen if you come back like with a quote unquote positive hit and everything, because it's going to sound super sus, as the kids these days say. And it is completely not. So Bill, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Yeah. So when you have that case with the elderly person who doesn't understand what you're talking about, doesn't care about what you're talking about, they got hurt, they think it's somebody else's fault, and they don't even want to sue. They just want their medical bills paid. You still have to go through this process. And if it's more than $750, you've got to report it to Medicare. You've got to get that conditional payments letter, and you got to explain to them, look, if we settle this with you for $1,500, there's a $1,400 lien. So you're only going to get um, $100.
Yeah,
So if your out of pockets are 1,500, we're going to add that 1,400 to it, and we're going to call it 2,900, and we're going to make a release out to you for that much, but you're only going to get a check for the part that we owe you. The rest has got to go to Medicaid or Medicare.
right.
Medicaid or Medicaid.
Yeah,
The same applies to both.
right.
And that's the proper way to handle it, because otherwise you're blindsiding this claimant with an unrealistic understanding of where the money goes.
I think the
So
part that really confuses them the most, and it confuses me, and this is what sounds like we are delaying, is okay, so of course, as most liability adjusters know, we can't settle until they finish treatment. And there's a little caveat to that, but I'm not going to get into it. So we can't settle until they finish treatment. Okay, great. So once they finish treatment, we have to go back to Medicare, and we're just going to call it Medicare. Just know that we're talking about Medicaid as well. But we got to go back to them and say, okay, the claimant is finished treating. What is your final kind of demand here, or your conditional demand? And they're going to go, okay, so we're going to tally everything up, and this is what we think that is owed to us. Is that what you come up with? And we're going to go, yeah, sure, that's what we come up with. Go ahead. And then they're going to send us, they being Medicare, the government is going to send us a demand. Great. We would, pay that, but we also need to get that release, right? And like Bill said, you include those medicals in the release because you're going to pay the whole thing. But um if you're giving a release over to the claimant, they think that they're going to get the check like right away, but there's like a long intermediary part there where the government is checking things, and then they give you a final demand, because they don't even give you a final demand until it's a whole thing, guys.
it, it's hard. It's hard. Sometimes it goes quick. Other
Yes,
times they say, right now it's here, but there's more pending, in so many words, in their
right.
conditional letter. And you
And you
need to
can't
think about
settle,
this as a lien against the settlement. It's
right.
it's
And
it's
you,
not just a demand like my hands out. It's whatever you pay to them, we're going to take a piece of it.
yes.
So
And yeah, so it's not like you can settle yet, because now you're waiting on the government. And I will say this, they have gotten a lot faster. I mean, back in the day, like 2009, 2010, 2015, I mean, it took a month, 2 months, something like that. I mean, it took a long time. Meanwhile, grandma's over here going, look, I just want my $1,500. I can't make rent, or I can't buy my medicine, or I can't do this or that or whatever. Because
Puts you in a
meanwhile,
tough spot.
yeah, because meanwhile, all of this meds, they still keep coming up to um, Medicare, and Medicare is then running all of the new meds against the date of loss and, the CPT codes and the ICD-10 codes and all of that, making sure that the new bills aren't related to the old injury and need to be added to the demand. Do you see how confusing this is? It sounds suspicious. And
It
now,
does.
you're trying to explain this to grandma who doesn't trust you because you're just some voice from, Wisconsin or whatever, I don't know. So yeah. So finally, all said and done, you get the final demand letter. Okay, woo! So you pay it and you can settle with your claimant. Being that it's $2,900, we're going to give you 1,500 because the rest had to go to, Medicare or whatever, and then boom, you're done. Finally, yay. Um, but you have to sign that release first before and it, yeah, it's a whole thing. And
It is the whole
then,
thing.
and then let's say that Medicare, Medicaid, they make mistakes. They accidentally add some things on that you don't think is covered. Here's the fun thing about this, adjusters. It is, it behooves you as the insurer, and I know that you're not the insurer, but it behooves the insurer to pay it. Because again, I mentioned there's $1,000 a day fine if you don't pay it per claim. So what I was always told was you pay the whole thing and then you file the appeal or the contestment of that particular part because you do not want to be fined $1,000 a day. And allegedly, and I've never known anyone. If you have, please let me know. Please write it in the show notes, send Bill and me an email, whatever. I have never known anyone who has appealed anything, but allegedly the government gives you your money back.
I'm not
You don't,
I'm not familiar with any companies that uh, have been fined.
I,
I'm not saying that they haven't been,
what I
but
heard was we all had that grace period up until I think
it was a
2025.
long time. It was
Yeah,
like
we
five
had
or
a
10
really
years or
long grace
something.
period because the government was like easing us into this. And I think the grace period ended in 2025. And so they started now. But I always operated as if the fines were active right then and there because the government could, like I said, they told me that they could go after anybody, the
Hmm.
attorneys, us, the third party administrator, doesn't matter. I know it's supposed to be the RRE, but it could be anybody. And the RRE is usually the insurer. Okay, so anyway, um, that is the other thing that I wanted to drill into people is make sure that the payment gets done and then you can contest later. But if you know of someone who contested it, let me know because I hear you're supposed to get your money back. It's true.
So there's another way to handle this, and it's not something I would recommend, but in strange cases where it makes sense to settle and you don't know whether they have Medicare or Medicaid, if you explain to them that, look, if you have either of these uh, and we pay you directly, you are going to owe it because we're going to put in our release that you are responsible. Then we're going to transfer that responsibility to you, and you're going to sign this release that says you agree to that.
Mhm.
So if we settle with you for $10,000 and a year from now, after you signed a release, you get a call from Medicare or we get a call from Medicare saying that there's $2,000 owed to them,
Mhm.
we're going to send them your contact information and
Yeah.
you and a copy of the release that you signed, and then you will have to pay that out of the funds that you. Um, but
They
I've never
probably
really
do.
seen anything like most of the carriers I work with use releases with that language in it.
In it anyway. I have told attorneys who refuse to give me that information, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to need you to sign a hold harmless and indemnification,
Right.
because you're going to have to,
That's about the only example where
you're
is if you get
going,
a belligerent claimant or attorney that
yes,
won't share the information.
yes. And I hate to say this a lot of times, but sometimes you can get the information from the medical bills, because they'll have the um social security number,
Oh,
especially.
medical records, sometimes they'll have it.
Yeah.
If they refuse to give it to us, we'll review everything that we have because sometimes it is buried in there. And remember,
Yes.
that's PII, people. That means
That is.
private information. So don't email it to each other and don't email social security numbers to each other. I get that from attorneys all the time.
Yeah, yeah,
I'll
yeah.
leave a message. Hey, I'm just calling to see if I can get the claimant's social security number. 10 minutes later, I'll get an email. Oh, here's the social security number you asked for. It's like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me?
Can't do that. Yeah, so we've talked about the ethicalness of that. And that's a huge part of the PPI, personal protected information,
PII.
is of course part of that big five, which,
Uh-huh.
is name, date of birth, gender, social security number, address, all of that kind of thing, are the things that needed to be identifiable to you. And again, explaining this whole process to someone who is automatically opposed to you, because property adjusters, y'all know that the insured already thinks that you're not going to offer enough money for the roof or the car or whatever, but the liability adjusters get a whole different set of it, because they're it's kind of the same thing. Their mothers, next door neighbors, aunts, best friends, third grade teachers, ex-husband had the exact same, injury as you, and they got $50 billion, or
Right.
whatever. It's going to be that same set, but it is automatically 10 times as worse as I felt as a liability adjuster compared to a property adjuster. And that is because a lot of it is subjective, such as the pain and suffering that we do. And so now we're coming in with something else that sounds even more suspicious, like this government entity, and they're going to first send you a conditional demand, and then they're going to think about it, and then they'll send you a final demand. And meanwhile, I can't settle until I get all of this, and then I got to pay them, and then I'm going to pay you the difference. It sounds super suspicious. So if you have the letters, and even pointing, I think, claimants to the websites, the governmental websites, so that they can read it and understand what you are up against is very helpful.
My advice is to learn all you can about
Mhm.
so that you can verbalize what's going on in layman's terms to
Yep.
the average Joe, because that's who you have to communicate this to. And you can't do it using acronyms and word salads and alphabet soup. You've got to be able to describe the process from start to finish. And you have to remember that in their mind, they're going to be thinking this is just a delay tactic. They just don't want to pay anything. They're trying to pay as little as possible and they're trying to stretch this out as long as they can. Not the case.
Yeah.
We would rather get all of the claim information on day one so we can close it on day two. This
Yes.
is a busy job, you know. Um,
Exactly. And you mentioned that, and to all the CEOs who are listening, not that there are any, but that's okay. Uh, there was this huge push, what, about 10 years ago, to do that first call settlement or whatever. And I remember when that was coming out, and I'm like, that doesn't work anymore with Medicare and
Nope.
Medicaid because we still got to go run them through. And
Yep.
so there isn't this no, and I don't know if that's still going on. I guess if it's under that $750, but I haven't actually never had any success with this first call settlement. Um,
So here's another thing that happens with the $750 threshold. When you explain that to someone, they instantly think, oh, he's just trying to get me to settle for $750 when my claim
right,
is clearly worth more than that.
right.
It just puts us in such a box. And it's no wonder that there's these stupid books that come out, complaining about denies and, I'm
Yes,
not going to even
delays and
say the
all that
name
kind
of
of,
the book, but
yes, exactly.
um
Um,
it, it puts us in a real spot, and it's not the insurance companies that have done it as much as it's regulatory that has really, it happens with a lot of government programs. They think they're trying to help, and they're really just making things worse.
Yes. So I'm going through my notes real quick just to see reporting requirements, just to make sure. I know we've been jumping around a little bit, but I just want to make sure that we've kind of touched about all of the things. Um, Reporting requirements, the liability insurance, no fault insurance, workers' compensation. You had mentioned all of those. Bill is much more uh, in touch with that since he does a lot of the liabilities, and it's been years since I've been in liability. I love liability. It's fun. I do think it's a lot of fun. I will give you the flow chart, which I think is absolutely fantastic to offer to claimants. And it's the government's, it's not mine. It's not anything. So I mean, there's no problem with giving that information away. And yeah, so
Story time, real quick, and
yes, story
before we wrap
time.
up, we had claim about a year or two ago. The attorney, the attorney said he submitted the some medical bills for a person who was on Medicare. And he said, can you just pay these out of MedPay? And I've heard some carriers argue that MedPay doesn't count. I don't think that's the case. I think MedPay, it goes into the same bucket as everything else, that if you pay on MedPay without paying Medicare first, you're in hot water. Nonetheless, he said, just, can you just pay these? And I said, no, we can't. We have to get the big five, as you call it.
Right.
And he said, why? And I said, we have to report it to Medicare, to CMS. He goes, no, 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 I don't want that. I said, I don't care.
Yeah. Do not care.
It
$1,000 a
is
day fine. Do not
it is
care.
not an option for you, bub. So I had to, and I think what his mind was more along the lines of the way no fault and loss transfer work in auto claims, because
Yeah.
I think he primarily did auto. I don't know. I don't know where the confusion came and why he didn't know this, but anyway, so you have to watch for that. Not like attorneys are smart folks, but sometimes they wander into this realm of claims and cases that they're not really familiar with, and you have to kind of just educate them a little bit.
Yeah, and
So,
I would agree with you, Bill, that the government says no fault. So to me, that is PIP, that is MedPay, that
right.
is, slipping the MedPay that we have in our homes. I mean, this we're I think we're kind of giving the impression that this is only like auto or commercial or whatever, but this can happen in your homeowner's
Yep.
claims as well, you know?
Commercial general liability, your home,
Yes,
even if you're a renter.
yes.
We
Workers' comp, if you're,
ask me how many dog bite claims we have with renters.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. So you have a workers' comp claim, that is specifically mentioned. So these are things to to understand. So uh, identify our lien holders early, get that big five information, the key, the personal identification information early, so that we can turn that over to if we're the independents, either the insurance company or put it into our system and then let it go. Because again, I don't want the adjusters to worry too much about it because they're not the ones who usually call Medicare or Medicaid or whatever. It's someone that the insurance company's contracted with. And then once you get the letter back or you get the answer back, yay or nay, that's when you need to know which way you need to go. And of course, you've already explained all of this to the claimant on your first call, why you're asking this information. You sent out a letter. And so you can even, when you get the information back, call the claimant up and go, hey, I've gotten a positive hit on you. You Medicaid, Medicare, whatever is paying this. So this is going to impact how we settle. You might want to explain it right then and there, because again, it sounds sus. It sounds really suspicious.
And there's no quarrel with reimbursing Medicare for
No, no,
this.
no,
It's
no.
not, it's not, that's not what is annoying about this whole process. The part that's annoying is that it forces you to have conversations with claimants that make it sound like you're trying to delay because they've imposed this delay thing on
Yes,
us now and that we have to comply. That's the annoying part.
right.
The reality is, I want to know how much Medicare has paid in medical, because if we get a demand from an attorney for $1 million
Mhm.
and we get a Medicare lien for 2,500 bucks, kind of changes the outlook on the claim, doesn't it?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah. So again, of course, you're going to document all your conversations. You're going to do that anyway. I would just make sure that your notes are very clear. And I would resist letting people know that they can settle themselves because again, it's the insurer. Although I've always been told the government can go after whoever they want. It's the insurer who is ultimately responsible, and we're talking about $1,000 a day fine.
do you mean a property owner settling with a claimant?
No, 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 no. Well, they're not supposed to do that anyway. I'm talking about like if
Right.
the attorney and I had many an attorney say to me, I will settle with Medicare myself.
Oh, I see.
And
Well, that's where
usually
the release comes in.
yes. And usually what the attorney is wanting to do, and I don't think I'm putting out any kind of things that the attorneys don't want us to know and that no adjuster doesn't already know, is that they want to try to negotiate that lien down, just
Yeah.
like the attorneys want to settle with the doctors themselves. They try to negotiate the doctor's bills down, which puts more money in their client and their pockets, which is, I mean, fine. I don't care as long as my claim is settled. I've paid the fair amount. My client, which is the insured, is protected, and everything. That's what I care about. So, um, yeah, that's when, as you and I talked about, I would not let the attorney do that, or the claimant, if that's what the claimant wants to do, with Medicare, CMS themselves. I would want to hold
It's a risk.
harmless.
It's a risk.
Yeah, I would want to hold
And
harmless and indemnify.
yeah,
Yeah,
unless that's a very sophisticated claimant that maybe is an attorney or
I don't even know if I would trust them then. I would run
yeah.
that up the flagpole.
Our
So,
next topic.
oh my gosh, our next topic in 2 weeks, I'm sorry, I keep going on, um, is how to do a good recorded statement. I thought
Oh,
that would,
great.
we mentioned that a couple of episodes ago, like, how
We
to,
did one on that a while back, and it was very popular. So
oh,
I think
good.
a reboot would be a good idea.
Oh, I didn't even, I see, this is me. I don't remember what happened yesterday, so I don't even remember doing that. So,
You
whoops.
were awesome in that one, by the
Was I
way.
really? Oh my
Yeah.
God. I find that really hard to believe, but okay. Yeah, so anything else? Yeah. Like, subscribe, listen, share, let us know questions, whatever.
Follow us on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Send us liability claims here at Auden Claims Management.
Send me expert witness claims at
Yes.
cmrconsulting.net.
You bet.
Or, yeah, hire me as a teacher or whatever. I'm so entertaining. All right. We'll talk to you later, Bill.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on the Art of Adjusting podcast, where we talk about life as an insurance adjuster.
If you enjoyed this podcast or this episode, please give us 5 stars and a review. It does help the algorithm pick us up.
Hit that subscribe button real quick and tell all of your adjuster friends to check this out as well. For independent adjusting services, go to www.autin.claims. And for anyone interested in working as an independent liability adjuster, go to the Contact Us tab to join our roster. In the meantime, you can contact me at theartofadjusting.com for consulting and training purposes.